I will say that TNA Impact on March 12th, 2026, actually was a pretty decent show. However, the episode that aired yesterday on Thursday, March 19th, 2026, well, unfortunately, that was just a complete waste of time. It made you feel like you're watching the stuff, you feel like they may as well just take this crap off the air. So let me share with you what went on during the show. So, well, maybe you won't have to suffer through the show like I did. Now, TNA, they've got a premium live event coming up on Friday, March 27th, 2026. And I'll tell you, after watching this show, I had absolutely zero desire to watch this premium live event. I will tell you that. Oh, my God. So, apparently, last week's show on AMC, which was, I thought, their best show that AMC has done, or that they've done since they've gone to AMC, apparently that was just a fluke because it went right on back to being a garbage program like it usually is. All right, so let's see what happened here. All right, so they're still taping in at the Gateway Center Arena in Atlanta, Georgia. First match we come to is the hometown man, Cody Deaner. He's in there against Frankie Kazarian. And during this match, we have AJ Francis, formerly Top Dollar of WWE. He came out during the match, distracted the hometown man, Cody Deaner. And, of course, that resulted in the hometown man attacking AJ Francis, coming off the top rope. And then Frankie Kazarian, then he cheated by gouging the Cody Deaner in the eyes. AJ Francis then physically interfered against the hometown man. Of course, the referee doesn't see any of it. Hometown man then ends up nailing AJ Francis. Then, but nonetheless, hometown man Cody Deaner, he uses a roll-up pin out of nowhere on Frankie Kazarian to win the match. After this, we have AJ Francis attacking the hometown man, but then Elijah, formerly known as the Drifter, Elias Sampson in WWE, came out, and he nailed smashed a guitar over AJ Francis's back while he was actually going for Frankie Kazarian. That sets up a match for next week on next week's show. Now, next match is that's kind of a strange one here, where we have Action Mike Jackson, who literally is 76 years old. I mean, he's been wrestling literally since 1972. Started wrestling in the NWA and Georgia Championship Wrestling. And he even was even did some work in WCW. So he's been in the business for a very, very long time. And now he's actually in a match. We actually saw Action Mike Jackson at a recent Premium Live event. And now here he is on the show at 76 years old, and he's in there against Mr. Elegance. And the thing is, what I hate about one thing I really hated about this segment here is they keep claiming that this guy, Mr. Elegance, has never wrestled in TNA before, where the thing is, he's been on TNA television at least 3 times that I can think of in the last several months. I know he was in a couple matches on Impact in the last few months. Like, he had a match, it was a squash match against Mike Santana. And actually, 2 weeks in a row, they had him on the show, because the first time he was supposed to face Mike Santana, but then the match got canceled because then Trick Williams from NXT, he came out and attacked Mike Santana, so the match got canceled. But then the next week, they had Mike Santana beat this guy. And they've also had him on their weekly show, TNA Explosion, and stuff. But it would sound stupid, but the announcers keep claiming that this guy, Mr. Elegance, who formerly went by the name AJZ, they keep claiming, he's never been on TNA before. This is his very first match, And it sounds so stupid. It's like, what do they think it's like they think nobody remembers anything that happened on the show, like past like the last like month or two or something. It's ridiculous, So I just get tired of hearing them saying that this guy has never been on TNA television before and this is his first match, when it's like, it's complete bullcrap. Anyway, there we have this match. He's out there with they're the TNA Knockouts Tag Team Champions, Heather by Elegance and M by Elegance, along with their manager, the personal concierge, George Iceman. And anyway, like, they're out there, and it looks so damn fake and ridiculous. I mean, it looks like, okay, Mr. Elegance AJZ, he's just letting this 76-year-old guy, win against him, and and it looks really bad and everything. And then finally, though, Mr. Elegance, AJZ, he eventually gets a solid, decisive win against him. And then at the end, we have a situation where, okay, now we got the personal concierge, George Iceman. He comes out, he's got these 2 cups of like pork and beans. He's about ready to pour it over Action Mike Jackson. And we have another special guest, special appearance by ODB. And she's on the show for the second week in a row, since this is around like her hometown in Atlanta, Georgia. She was out there last week and also this week too, promoting her food truck. So she comes out and she ends up pouring the pork and beans on AJZ instead. So that's how that all turned out. It just was like, another one of those, whatever. It's like, this is just, more nonsense. So then we got the third match. We have Ariana Grace from WWE NXT. She's the current TNA Knockouts World Champion. Well, she's out there with Dani Luna, who's formerly of WWE NXT UK, back when that was actually around. And they're in there versus Lei Ying Lee, who's formerly known as Xia Li back when she used to work for WWE. And her tag team partner is Xia Brookside, and Xia Brookside is formerly of WWE NXT UK. Well, anyway, they're out there. Ariana Grace and Dani Luna, they're out there with Channing Stax Lorenzo, who's currently in WWE NXT. And, he's out there pulling an outside distraction against Lei Ying Lee. Lei Ying Lee fought him off. The storyline during the match was Dani Luna wouldn't cooperate with Ariana Grace because Dani Luna wants Ariana Grace's championship belt. And in the end, Dani Luna turned on Ariana Grace and shoved her right off the ring apron. Lei Ying Lee then took out Channing Stax Lorenzo. And let's see, well, she was going for, him as well as Ariana Grace when Ariana Grace moved out of the way. And in the end, though, Ariana Grace and Dani Luna still had a solid, decisive win when Dani Luna pinned Xia Brookside. Up next, we get an injury report from TNA. They talk about Leon Slater, the current X Division champion. He remains out of action due to a pile driver by Eric Young weeks ago. And they also talk about how Indy Hartwell is out of action due to a backstage attack by Ariana Grace last week. And then we get a promo by Leon Slater. He comes out doing a promo disparaging Eric Young. Next match, this match was, here we go, another dud. This match could have been something, but, well, so much for that. We have Brian Myers, was formerly Kurt Hawkins of WWE. If you don't watch TNA, you might remember Kurt Hawkins. They had him on this crazy long losing streak. I remember, I think like before he quit WWE, his record, they were saying, was like 0 wins and 264 losses, Well, they had him in there with his tag partners Eddie Edwards, Bear Bronson, and Cedric Alexander, who's Cedric Alexander, formerly of WWE. Well, they had Brian Myers out there against Moose with Alicia Edwards. And, during this match, before it started, the TNA Director of Authority, Santino Marella, who used to work for WWE, he comes out and he bans Eddie Edwards, Bear Bronson, and Cedric Alexander from ringside and asks them, like, why the hell are you people even out here? It's like, you were banned from ringside before this match even started. Well, this match, which could have actually been interesting, well, no sooner did the match started, it was over. It was over in like 5 seconds. Moose just basically speared Brian Myers and got the win, and that was it. So that was basically a dud. Up next, we had this segment. It was like this incomprehensible, like, paranormal science fiction nonsense, basically. It was a segment with Rosemary, Allie, who's been recently rehired. There was another nonsense segment on last week with Allie. She hadn't worked for the company since 2019. You might remember the Allie. She started out in TNA. You'd see her occasionally working under the names Laura Dennis back in 2013 and 2015. And she worked under the name Allie from TNA from 2016 through 2019. I think she was the TNA Knockouts champion a couple times. Well, she's back with TNA right now. So they had this segment with Rosemary, Allie, and also Raven. formerly of, WCW and ECW. Raven made a special guest appearance, so we know he's still alive. That was the main point of this segment, I guess, was to show that Raven was still among the living. And this was just, it was just like basically nonsense. It was like we had, it was supposed to be paranormal like nonsense with Rosemary having clothes appear out of nowhere in her hands, and they had this this bunny figure that was appearing and disappearing because I get Allie used to play. She went under the name the bunny, at one time. So but it was just complete like nonsense, So that's all I got out of that was that okay, Raven's now maybe willing to make special appearances for TNA now, at this point. So that's all we got out of that. All right. So next match, well, okay, here we have Elena Black, formerly known as Cora Jade of WWE NXT. Now, she's been recently hired back by TNA. She'd worked for the company before she was in WWE. Well, we have Elena Black versus the Spark, Jada Stone. And during this match, we had Mara Sade, who was formerly known as Jakara Jackson in WWE NXT. And Mara Sade, she's at the announcer's desk for this one. And during this match, we have Tasha Steelz came out at the end and caused an outside distraction. And then about a minute later, she interfered in the match and against the Spark, Jada Stone. And this basically allowed Elena Black to get an underhanded win here. And so here we go, another dud of a match. And how the referee's missing this outside interference, I have no idea. It's it's so ridiculous. That's the other thing it's bad about TNA television. They have these situations where it looks like, how is the referee missing this? It's practically right in front of his face. And it's and it's like the referee just pretends like he doesn't notice any of this going on, So anyway, then they have, this sets up a match between Mara Sade and Elena Black. They got security trying to pull these two apart. And basically, then they have a scene where Mustafa Ali, formerly of WWE, he comes out with Jason Hodge, John Schuyler, Agent Zero, and then Tasha Steelz. They're all surrounding Jada Stone in the ring like they're ready to attack her until Trey Miguel, the current TNA International Champion, comes out with a steel chair. And he got all of them to back off and retreat. And up next, a match that sets up a segment for a match next week. We have this segment here. It's a confrontation between Tessa Blanchard, she was formerly of WWE NXT, along with Victoria Crawford, formerly Alicia Fox of WWE, along with Mila Moore. They're in there confronting Jody Threat, Mila Grace, and Harley Hudson. That basically sets up a 6-woman tag team match next week. And we have another match. It's another crummy match here. And we have Nick Nemeth, formerly known as Dolph Ziggler from WWE. He's in there with his brother Ryan Nemeth. And they're in there versus The Righteous, Vincent and Dutch. Basically, these two guys, if you've never seen them, they kind of look like a cross between Cheech and Chong mixed with the soft rock duo Seals and Crofts. Now, no, I'm not disparaging either Seals and Crofts or Cheech and Chong. I'm a big fan of both of those duos, but I'm just trying to give you an idea. If you've never seen them, it's kind of like what they look like, but they don't act like, it's like, unfortunately they don't sing, and they're not funny. It's like they're not, it's like they're not a comedy duo. So it's just, but that's like appearance-wise, that's what they look like. Anyway, so they're in there against the Nemeths here. And basically, the bottom line is this was a bunch of constant cheating. And basically, after Dolph Ziggler gouged Vincent in the eyes at 2 different points in the match, and then he gouged Dutch in the eyes and all that. After all this, the cheating throughout the match, then we had Nick Nemeth and Ryan Nemeth getting another crummy underhanded win when Nick Nemeth pinned Vincent of the group The Righteous. And the last segment on the show, this was a boring segment here. It's like, what the hell? It's like, why even bother putting that on there? It looks like we have TNA World Champion Mike Santana meeting with Steve Macklin in what looks like a hotel lobby or something. And they basically just, whatever, just kind of threaten each other. It's supposed to build up their match, their world title match that's going to be at TNA Sacrifice on February 27th next week. Steve Maclin, now for a little trivia for you, Steve Maclin is actually formerly known as Steve Cutler back in WWE. So he worked in WWE from 2014 to 2021. And he was with that group, the Forgotten Sons, along with Jackson Riker and Wesley Blake. And then it seemed like all three of them ended up getting terminated in WWE in 2021. For the most part, I think they got rid of them on account. They figured, well, we don't really have anything for them anymore because, well, the whole thing was they ended up terminating Jackson Riker because of posts that he had made, like political posts that he had put online that, things that, WWE really didn't want him to be representing the company like that. So then Jackson Riker, they terminated him, and they figured, well, during budget cuts and whatever, during, that time back then, they ended up all losing their jobs and all that. So, but anyway, so then Steve Cutler, now known as Steve Maclin, he's been with TNA since 2025. Anyway, also on the show, we saw Daria Ray, formerly known as Sonya Deville. And, she's doing her, whole management, type thing, how they're, pretending she's like a co-GM along with TNA Director of Authority, Santina Marella. And other than that, nothing really big on the show. I mean, like I said, there was nothing on this show that made me want to watch this premium live event next week. I mean, it was a boring show. I mean, there was nothing worth recommending. And, well, it might have looked like TNA was starting to maybe they were trying to do some better shows, as of last week. I thought maybe they were getting in a better place, but no, it just seemed like this was a show where it's like whoever the people are that are writing this, they figured they didn't give a crap. They're like, well, whatever, let's just throw something together. We gotta come up with 2 hours worth of television and stuff. So here we go. We'll just throw more garbage up and then say, here you go. So that's the way all that ended up.